Hello, everyone. This is Zayami Eccles-Irwin from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the director of the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival. Right now, we're gearing up for our October 17th event, which is going to take place at the beautiful, historic Clinton Street Theater in Portland, Oregon. It's going to be a day of networking, screenings, refreshments. It's going to be great. And to get ready for this, we've been talking with some of our participating filmmakers. So today we're talking with BC Jones, who is the writer, director, and editor behind The Red Hourglass. Thanks so much for meeting with me today, man.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me. Excited to be part of the festival.
Well, let me just say, The Red Hourglass is such a cool film. Really,
Thank you.
really breathtaking in the aesthetic, the cinematography, and such a cool story. Tell me, what inspired you to make this movie?
Well, 2020 was a crazy year for us all,
Oh
for
yeah,
sure. For me and my family, it was kind of a bittersweet year because the same week that my wife and I went into quarantine was the same week we found out that we were finally pregnant.
oh wow,
So we have been trying to get pregnant for a while. So we have this ultra exciting news, this thing that we've been, trying to do forever, our family planning, and then the whole world is falling apart all around us. And there's a scary plague, and then you're watching the news and there's like unrest in the streets and like, fascism rising up
totally.
and all this crazy stuff. So it was a very anxiety inducing time to have a child. And I think actually like the germ of the film came one night I was rocking my son to bed at like 3 in the morning, and we use this thing. It's called a hatch, which is actually in the movie. And it lets out different colored light and it lets out white noise, because you're trying to simulate, what it was like in utero for them, and it
Right.
helps them, go back to sleep. And I'm sitting there in this red light and I'm hearing all this white noise really loud, and it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, this is like an Argento film, but with the soundtrack by David Lynch. And that made me think, well, that's interesting. What could be that? And then, I've always been a big fan of films like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen. And so I kind of just decided to sort of dive into my own like little apocalyptic baby movie.
I love that. So you're pulling from real life anxieties. You're tapping into the kind of inherent horror of children and child rearing. Ultimately, it's a scary process.
It
It's
is,
fraught
yes.
with anxiety. That's so cool. You synthesize it into something really incredible. So tell me a little bit um, how you kind of got to the character design, the red hourglass, the red dress falling in the abyss, because those things are incredible.
Well, I mean, they all kind of fell into place. I think when I wrote the opening scene of the movie was really kind of what drew me in. That was the first scene I conceived of, and I
Okay.
was like, and it was sort of like with the spider and then the ultrasound, and I was like, wait a minute, what is that? What is that about? That's a weird thing. I've never seen that before, and so then that kind of got me on my journey. And then but then it was sort of like I wrote a draft and the character wasn't quite right for the story. And it was sort of like, well, what character would do this? Like, what character would just have a child under these circumstances? And it dawned on me, I was like a very pious and evangelical type person.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of both the book and the movie Carrie, the
Okay.
Stephen
Yep.
King. And that Carrie White actually was very much the inspiration. I was like, what if what if a character like Carrie White was in this situation? So and that kind of spun that together. And then the Black Widow, originally I'd written a different spider,
Okay.
and then I remember. So my grandmother, my grandfather and grandmother, they owned a pest control company, and when I was a little kid, they had all these different like drawings and pictures of different kinds of pests that could be in your house. And one of them was a really detailed image of a black widow, and it looked enormous. And I remember with my little 7-year-old eyes
Oh
being
yeah.
like, that thing's scary looking. So that always kind of like, I think that was in the back of my head. And then, once I made the spider a black widow, just all these other things just started to kind of fall into place. Like,
Totally.
the hourglasses on their head and the whole cult thing, and the red dress, and
Yeah.
as part of the imagery, and she's like a bride to this
Right.
entity, if you will.
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, it's interesting to hear how it's kind of started with an aesthetic motivation, and then you weave some story in, and it kind of ebbed and flowed between the two poles of writing this film. Let's get into the nitty gritty, though. I'm curious. One, how did you make that spider? The legs. The is that it looks practical. It looks
It
real.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was an effects person. I didn't have a lot of money, so I hired a guy right out of makeup school, and he made it.
Oh,
Originally, we were going to do it all in like clay and like molds and all this stuff, and he was like, "I don't think you have enough money to do it like that. So, but I can do this actually out of like paper mache and foam and all this kinds of stuff." So yeah, we made it with like in
wow.
a very inexpensive manner and stuff. So
But it's great, not seeing the whole thing, just having these little truncated bits, and it has like sort of a I don't know, like a stop motion quality when it first appears, and it's just very spooky, very jarring.
yeah, well, I did some things in post with like speed
Okay,
changes,
yeah.
and and just it's all puppeteered, and it was really hard to actually shoot that. Like the camera's on like one end of the bed, and like the puppet just had to land at just the right moment and stuff. So that was a real challenge doing that. We had two different puppeteers like manning this thing, and this thing was huge. We didn't even actually use all the shots that we did of it. There
Oh,
was
really?
actually like a whole back abdomen shot coming up, but I just didn't think it looked very good, so I cut it out in post. But this thing was even bigger
Wow,
than what you see.
that's incredible. Well, and tell me about the shot where our lead is falling into the abyss. Is that
So
in
that
water? What's the deal with that?
so yeah, that was it was just someone falling into kind of a black void. It was just kind of a nice metaphor for what she's kind of going through. She's going through this abyss,
Okay.
as the film progresses, and it's kind of drawing her in. And there was even more of that actually that was cut out of the film as well. But that we achieved. We shot most of this at my house
Okay.
actually, but those particular bits, the first day we shot was at a soundstage. My friend Danny Erb, he owns a company called Rise Motion Pictures, and he generously let us use his soundstage for a day. So yeah, that's just black. We had a big fan going, blowing her hair up. We
Mhm.
shot it in slow motion. And we also went and found a trampoline for free on Craigslist, and my producer and I, she brought over a minivan, and we went and unhooked met the nicest people in the world
Wow.
to give us. They helped us, disassemble this giant trampoline. And I think my producer Amanda, she kept the trampoline. She's got like 3 kids, so she's like, "I'll take this off your hands. So they'll love this." So, but yeah, we put the trampoline right in the soundstage, and we shot her just jumping up in the air and just falling straight down and shooting it
Wow.
at like I think it was like 240 frames per second or something like that.
Sweet.
Whatever the highest frame rate the Alexa Mini would go. And that's how we captured that. It's just that one little moment, just so slowed down of her falling.
That's so cool. I mean, I love to hear how some of these really impressive effects are just they're maneuvered and accomplished through the most human means. Put on Craigslist and you
Very in
found a
camera.
trampoline, and
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your lead actress, who is really incredible. And there's so much. I think it's always difficult when you're not typically responding to an acting partner. You have to do so much alone. There's that great shot of the camera locked onto her body, where you're just seeing the nuanced facial expressions. What was it like directing this actor?
Just a joy. Oh my gosh, Caroline. She was amazing. I mean, she was just one of the best collaborators I've ever, worked with. And she's a wrecking ball. She is such a good actress. Oh my gosh. I mean, the confrontation in the bathroom. I was thinking I was going to have to do all this stuff to like, kind of help manipulate her because,
Right.
you don't see the creature and stuff, and it's all like in her head. She did all of that herself. She was like jumping up and down and getting like pumped up. And she looked exhausted by the time we'd finished that scene. And she was just amazing. I mean, she came so prepared every day. And it was interesting because like we figured out so much in just one rehearsal day. Like her and
Wow.
I, she came over to my house because that's where we're going to shoot, And we walked through the big heavy monologues in this film, and we worked them out well before we ever came to set. And she'd give me variations, at the drop of a hat, and she can just ebb and flow through emotions like nobody's business. She's a phenomenal actress.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. The combination of a fantastic actress and, putting time into, although not a lot of time, but putting time into rehearsal and covering the material goes into something so great that it doesn't feel like it's missing another character. She's completely compelling. She drives the story forward. I mean, she's incredible to watch. Well, tell me, BC, what
Thank you.
did you learn from this process? You have a long history in film, but what did you learn from this project specifically?
Well, I learned never shoot at your own house. So
Okay. Yeah.
that was a big one. It's funny, I'd actually shot a music video here, but that was before I had a kid. And like, so, we shot 5 days in my house. We couldn't even shoot full days. We couldn't even do like 12-hour days,
Right.
because it was like, my kid had to come home and my wife had to come home and, have dinner and go to bed and all that kind of stuff at a decent hour. So it was a real burden on them. They were troopers about it, but I felt kind of terrible putting my family through that. So if I had to do it all over, I would not. I would not shoot in my own home. That's for sure.
Well, that's good insight, but it's always good for people to be able to observe how grueling it is to make a film, a quality film. Ultimately,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish more people knew. Um, well, tell me, are you working on any other shorts? Do you have any other projects, features, anything?
Well, yeah. So I host a monthly podcast
Okay.
called My Dad's Video Store. My dad, growing up in the '80s and early '90s, he had a video store,
Oh, awesome.
and so that really gave me my love of cinema and my desire to make films. And yeah, we kind of explore a lot of the kind of crazy different films. Everything from like teen sex comedies named after items of food to the weird trend of like convicted and executed convicts coming back to life in prison movies of the late '80s and
I love
stuff.
that.
So we'll do these blocks per month of different odd little trends that happened throughout the '80s and early '90s, and doing that on a monthly basis. And also, I wrote a feature film version of the Red
Oh,
Hourglass.
nice.
This is one of those interesting things. I think some people maybe make a short to make a feature. I just made the short to make the short. But then there was so much more I wanted to do. There was so much more I was thinking about in terms of this world. And I was like, maybe I should flesh this out. And I kind of started outlining it, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot here. So yeah, I'm kind of workshopping that at the moment as well. Maybe hopefully the short can help us get some
Absolutely.
money for it. And then I'm also writing another script called The Alchemist Cage and stuff. It's another horror film as well. And then just working and in
Excellent.
Los Angeles,
Yep.
editing videos and all that kind of fun stuff.
So you eat, sleep, and breathe film. I love that.
I
A lot of
do,
irons in the
yeah.
fire. So
Always have since I was like 4 years
that's
old.
great.
So,
Well, hopefully you don't resent your dad for that, but
oh no, not at all.
it's a gift and a curse. Well, I really like the
Yes.
idea that you made this Red Hourglass as a short, but the idea is so fertile, and there's just more that you want. You're not afraid to edit out some of the scenes you shot because you're looking for a tasteful short, but there's more to be said, and I think that's so cool. Maybe this would work as a fantastic proof of concept. I mean, it's beyond a proof of concept.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
really.
well, is there anything else you'd like to add about Red Hourglass?
Just come see it, folks. Really excited to show it off. We're also screening at Horror Hound in Cincinnati in September. We just started our festival run, so Oregon Screams and Horror Hound are the first couple of festivals we've gotten into. But I'm hopefully it'll play all across the country and the world, and soon be online. So excited for folks to see it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, man. I think this is going to be a huge success on October 17th at the Oregon Screams Horror Film Festival. The Portland audience loves this type of atmospheric, beautiful experimental horror, and I think this is just going to be very awesome to screen. I can't wait. Please send me a link to your podcast too. I wanna check that out, and I want to post about it.
I will definitely do that. Definitely
Excellent.
do that.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from you.
Well, thank you. It's so nice to meet you as well.
Take care.
All right. Cheers.